is a no disqualification match, and it is for the PCW Championship.
Well, what is normally a weekend of celebration, of family, and of warmth, Father's Day weekend could have a very dark shadow cast over it, courtesy of the embodiment of evil. This is the Diabolical Krimson. In 2011, Krimson and Gory joined forces as part of the Dead Wrestling Society. Over the next 3 years, they would capture every championship in Prime Wrestling and bring the company to its very knees. Some say the organization never recovered from the chaos and panic spread throughout their ranks. It wasn't about championship glory. It was about depriving everyone else of their hopes and dreams. They hope to replicate that tonight. New company, same mission. The spiritual father could become champion on Father's Day. But one man will have something to say about it. The frenetic energy of Andrew Palace comes to the ring. This man throws caution to the wind month after month. Especially so back in April, when Gory issued a challenge for a PCW championship matchup. Palace had accepted, but it wasn't a challenge made on behalf of Gory. It was made on behalf of the spiritual father, Krimson. Palace even won up the stakes. Palace offered to go no DQ. Palace offered to throw the rules out the window because Andrew Palace loves that championship and wants to earn it time in and time out. He'll walk through the mouth of hell and he will do it fighting.
Well, after we saw Andrew Palace and Remy LeVay, we definitely saw a different side of Andrew Palace, a level that personally I did not think he could go to. But he's in there with Krimson, the man that indirectly is responsible for what we see from Remy LeVay, responsible for what we see from the Cobras and for Gory, for that matter. And I don't want to question the champ's actions or motives or even his decisions, but this one I have to.
Introducing first is the challenger, representing the culmination, weighing in at 232 pounds, he is the embodiment of evil, Krimson. And his opponent, from Hookstown, Pennsylvania, weighing in at 202 pounds, he is the PCW champion, Andrew Palace.
A calmness is in the body language of Krimson, completely content with the absolute hell he's going to walk into as Krimson disrespecting that championship. He doesn't care about anybody or anything except bringing a company to its knees, bring talent to worship at the feet of what was once the Dead Wrestling Society, now the culmination. Krimson has come in as a guiding light of this group. And Gory failed at capturing the championship Sunday a few months ago. If Krimson can bring the title to Gory, the culmination may not be able to be stopped anytime in the near future.
You'd have to think that this could make up for what we saw earlier in that 8-man as well.
Yeah, Gory, you're going to be watching intently. You got to believe it's Palace showing no fear. What does Palace have to do to survive in Krimson's playground?
Well, you said it flat out. He's got to survive. He's got to be able to go the distance, if you will, with Krimson, and that's no easy task.
Low bridge sends the embodiment of evil to the floor as Palace going to take a chance. Suicide dive connects. Krimson hits hard.
And Joe, you have to think that this wasn't going to be a match that was going to be long for the ring, that these two are going to be going all over the place. No DQ gonna put out all the stops, if you will. And I don't know if that's Palace's forte as much as it is Krimson's.
I'd agree with you. We've seen Krimson over the years, the championship matches, the resolutions, blood, glass, thumbtacks, the brawls throughout the building. Krimson has much more experience in this environment, but Palace, I'll give credit, so far it's been 2 words to sum him up: no fear.
Well, if he's unable to defend that, oh, well.
That's a bell hammer to the midsection and then between the shoulder blades. Oh, Krimson, shot to the throat. And in this matchup, BC Steel, it's important to note, it's no disqualification, but all members of the Culmination have been banned from ringside. They will not be involved.
Well, it's going to have to be Krimson and getting the job done on his own. Something he's no stranger to.
Suplex. Krimson trying to... Whoa. Oh! Krimson, his spine bounces off that heavy reinforced ramp.
And Joe, the worst part, I don't think he hit that flush. I might have think he hit that at an angle, maybe even hit part of the side of that, and that makes it worse. It centralized the pain right on the spine.
Without a doubt, but Palace showing the guts he needs to weather the storm. You got to believe Palace has been watching some of those old Krimson massacres over the years, matches with Jason Bane and Matt Mason and Johnny Gargano over the years. Battles with Rhino. As Palace throwing chairs in the ring. And again, this is something you'd think Krimson would be doing, but Palace is beating Krimson to the punch.
A good move for Palace, try and get out ahead of that curve, try and get out ahead of Krimson on that, but he had his back turned to him, and that's not something you can do. If Palace is going to have his back turned very often against Krimson, it's going to be a short championship match for Andrew Palace.
And Krimson picking up where Palace left off. He's wielding the steel into the ring and across the back of Palace. I believe Gory and company have told Krimson what to watch out for. Keep in mind, last time Krimson was here, he captained the team of the Culmination. They scored a victory over a team which included Andrew Palace. So Krimson has an edge on Palace in that regard. Krimson has technically beaten Palace. Palace has never beaten Krimson.
You know, what would this mean? You know, I asked earlier, what does it mean if the championship belongs to the Culmination? What does it mean for Andrew Palace? I mean, we saw what he went through to get that championship. We've seen what he's willing to do to defend it. But once you lose that championship, that does something to your psyche. It does something to your mental makeup. And I don't know if that's something that Palace wants to experience.
That's a great question, honestly. What Krimson stomps the chair into the face of Palace. 2 and no. Palace lives and breathes for that championship. It's what he works for tirelessly night in and night out. He knows the honor and prestige associated with being the man at Palace! With an answer the second time around!
And Joe, I don't believe that was...
Oh. God grief to the spine.
Just I don't believe that was in the midsection where we saw that bell ringer earlier.
Not at all.
That's going to put Krimson at a disadvantage here early on. You know, for Krimson, this is a playground, but not unfamiliar territory for Andrew Palace, as I mentioned earlier. You know, the longer this goes on, the more we see this type of environment from him. I got to start to wonder if Palace is a little sadistic. We know he's high energy.
Well, Krimson in reversal. Palace the brakes on. Drop toe hold Krimson into the steel. Into the cover, 2 and no.
And there's no give in a steel chair, especially wedged in between the ropes like that. It's like running into a brick wall.
Yeah, Krimson in a bad way at this point. It's a position I've not seen Krimson in often. But Andrew, you gotta believe he has learned from his past battles with the likes of Remy LeVay and Gory.
We certainly hope he learned a lesson here. This is not a classroom setting you want to be in with the teacher in Krimson.
Palace, ooh. Krimson caught Palace coming in. Oh! Palace skull first. You can see the dent in that chair. Krimson's got him. Oh. Thought Palace was out cold.
Well, you see the front of that chair, as you mentioned, a bent and a dent in it as well, and that dent would be Andrew Palace's head.
Yeah, you can only imagine how the flesh of Palace responded to that impact. Lost the chair. Oh. Oh, Palace got him that time. And Krimson, hit by a steel chair, falls on a steel chair. Luck is on the side of Palace in this exchange. The cover, 2 no.
You know, interesting by Palace setting that chair on the pin. Well, that was maybe premeditated there by Palace, but when you put a steel... Oh, wait, we got another cover.
Got him, no.
when you put the steel chair on that, it kind of digs into your body, digs in, can cause scratches, can cause a muscle to knot up, can cause rib damage as well. It's something that a normal man wouldn't think of, but Palace does. So I really wonder if this culmination that we've seen with Gory, the Cogers, Remy LeVay, obviously Krimson now as well, maybe it's been good for Palace. As much as I hate to say what he's gone through, well, I personally love what he's gone through. I love to see a man suffer, but you'd have to say it's benefited him somewhat.
Will we see the outbreak of the culmination? The group that has claimed to infect the world for many months now. Oh, Palace puts the brakes and lands on his feet just barely. Cutter and Krimson into the chairs. The embodiment of evil is down, and Andrew Palace has an opportunity. Hooks him? No.
You know, Palace couldn't get over there to make the cover right away and didn't have his full body weight on that cover. You'd have to wonder what that could have meant. We've seen Krimson go head first into those chairs a couple times. We know Krimson's tough. We know he's sadistic, a little bit psycho to use the term. But the human body can only take so much punishment.
Palace with a chair, once again set up precariously. Not sure what Palace has in mind, but whatever it is, man, you gotta believe it's devastating. It's gotta be something that can kill a monster.
Well, Palace may be setting up here, but can't take too much time with Krimson on that top rope. Can't give him that time to recover. Can't give him that time to get back in the game.
Oh, what in the world is this? Krimson fighting. Oh, wait a second. Krimson has Palace. Signaling for the potential end. Palace fighting out. Krimson into the steel. Good grief.
And I don't know if that's what Palace was setting up for originally. I'm pretty sure he was setting up for something off the top, but that was very effective, just sweeping the legs out from under him. From Krimson, rather.
Krimson is down as Palace survived his trip to hell. Not quite yet. Krimson the shoulder up. And again, it's so tough to kill Krimson. It's so tough to stop Krimson.
Well, you know, Krimson is like a virus. You don't stop it. You only hope to contain it to the point where you can manage it. And that's what Palace is going to have to do. He's going to have to manage Krimson in this matchup.
Yeah, and if that virus gets the power of the Premier Championship on its side, then there may be a mass plague here in Premier Championship Wrestling.
Just saw Palace feeling the effects when he went after that chair of this war thus far with Krimson. And, you know, Krimson will do whatever he has to, not only for the championship, not only for the culmination, but just to beat a man.
Palace having a bit of some mobility issues, just navigating himself, setting up these chairs. You can see this match is having its way with Palace, but Krimson's certainly the worst for wear as well. Oh, no. Oh, Krimson. No! Back of the skull! Into the steel! We have a new champion! What? Krimson and many of these people in disbelief.
Joe, I think the only person that may have thought that wasn't the end was Andrew Palace, and I don't know if that kick out was ability or instinct, because his head smacked off the back of both of those chairs, and he could be knocked out.
Yeah, Andrew Palace showing very limited mobility here as Krimson is on the outside, and the only thing more dangerous than seeing Krimson is when you don't see Krimson. I don't know where he's gone, but certainly sadistic intent in mind.
Well, he's got a bag of some sort.
And we have seen this through the years. Any longtime fans of Cleveland, Ohio professional wrestling have seen Krimson bring a precariously positioned bag from under the ring inside. And now we see thumbtacks. Hundreds of thumbtacks.
And Joe, somebody's going to be made into a human pincushion.
Yeah, that's inevitable. Could be both men. Oh, wild swing on a duck. Palace is teetering. Oh, that missed on the hand of Krimson, and Krimson trying to drive that into the gullet. Almost a modified mandible claw with that poisonous mist on the end of his hand. Palace is fighting it. But if he fights much longer, he'll be driven into the tax. It's a no-win situation for the champion. Oh, Palace downstairs.
And Palace definitely went for desperation on that.
Oh, Death Valley driver into the tax.
Joe, I don't know if the people at home actually know what tacks feel like. You get one in your hand and it hurts.
He's got one in his hand. He's got about a dozen or more in his back stuck still. And Palace, all hurting, a driver into the tax. Into the tax. Andrew Palace survives hell.
He is your winner and still the PCW champion, Andrew Palace.
Andrew Palace had everything against him in this matchup. It was Crimson's specialty. A man who'd beaten him before. But Andrew Palace adapted. And he did not just survive, he thrived, did Andrew Palace, and retained the Premier Championship. Can you believe it?
Well, unbelievable. You know, we see more from Palace every single time from that sadistic standpoint, willing to go the extra mile, going to places that not a lot of individuals, will want to go. But Joe, a bigger question, who could stop Andrew Palace?
Crimson's not left the ring yet. This could be far from over. What? Krimson offering a hand of respect?
I don't think I've ever seen this.
I know I haven't. Not without a trick to it. Be careful, Palace. Be careful. Be careful.
Wow. Joe, think of... Uh-oh.
Krimson knowing he was beaten in his own game. And here comes Gory and the rest of the culmination. Palace, he's not stupid. He's getting himself some backup. But what must be running through the mind of Gory, knowing that his plans were unsuccessful here at Outbreak, and Andrew Palace could be the man to pay for it?
Well, the culmination had 2 goals here tonight, and I'll just go flat out and say it. They failed on both. They were bested in that 8-man, and they were bested here by Palace.
Well, this has not been the culmination's night at all. We saw Gory and Atticus get into it a bit earlier tonight as well. Tempers are certainly flaring. Credit to Andrew Palace for surviving this environment. What?
Joe, that was the leader, the guy that you described as the leader, the one that taught Gory, the teacher in Krimson to the student of Gory.
Yeah, Gory has just misted Krimson, and that mist was taught to Gory by Krimson. On Father's Day weekend, Gory is betraying and outright assaulting his spiritual father that has made him what he is today. And in his 4-on-1, Gory directing traffic on the man that Gory looked at as a mentor for over 6 years. You've got to be kidding me.
Well, after what Krimson just went through, we see that pile of chairs there in the ring.
Oh, no. God. Imagine everything Krimson has done for Gory. What kind of a person, what kind of an animal Gory must be as he makes up with Atticus. What kind of an animal Gory must be to do that to somebody that's done this much for him?
Well, Joe, it's one thing to lose a friend, but this is family.
Gory said earlier in the night, by the end of this night, you would know what the true face of evil looks like. And it's clear, to do something like this to Krimson, that face of evil is Gory, the New Age plague, and the culmination.